All right, how's everybody doing today? Hope you're all getting ready for a good weekend. Hope your week's been all right. Still lots of crazy stuff, flooding and storms and the fervent heat. Right? It is what it is, but this is what we're going to get here. Now we left off here, with the I don't know. And afterwards, there was a bunch of reports talking about how it's all a false flag, blah blah blah. But no, everything happens for a reason. It's all part of the play. So yeah, it's a false narrative, right? But is what it is. I've also had people ask me about, you know, like the full moon and bringing part of the evil with us, so to speak. And it's not that we're bringing evil with us. And here, and I don't know why, because we've already looked at the moon or what's going to happen this weekend, and it's a gibbous, right? I don't know why they're calling it that, but and it's not even going to look that way, right? But apparently, there's a little mini parade that's going to occur at the same time, so that's kind of nice. But what I wanted to get into is the dark part. So if you get into energy, frequency, and vibration, this is a scale basically that they have out there. And what we're taking with us is little, just small aspects of this. Okay, like, yes, you take pride in your work, but it doesn't, you don't do things just for pride. You don't do things just out of anger or desire. Love has to have a certain amount of desire behind it, correct? So these are the little bits that we're taking with us, so to speak. The other thing I want to get into is this thing right here. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this thing. You can go look that up. It's like a 2,000-year-old. Imagine that, 2,000 years, right? And that's why there's 10 days. In a video I did not too long ago, we talked about the 5 generations of people, right? And if it's 2,000 years per generation, that would be our 10,000 years, or 10 days. A day is like 1,000 years. But this right here was, supposedly found in a shipwreck. And when you do your research on it, which, it accurately predicts, supposedly, all the positioning of the stars, blah, 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 blah. So, that's probably your wheel in the sky, the great machine that controls the stars, the moon, all that stuff. So yeah, this ought to be, this is it right here. So there's just some more stuff there on that. Because yeah, we're into the weekend now, right? So today's the 21st, I believe. 20th, somewhere in there. I don't even know what day of the week I'm on. All I know is I'm at the end of the week, and that's the problem when you just live day to day and you don't pay attention to the time. It's amazing what happens when you do away with all that stuff in your life. In fact, it's because of this stuff right here. That healing can take place. We are healers. We're self-healing. We don't need anything from the outside world to heal us, per se, right? So that's just my little tidbit. Today's got to be the 21st, right? I need to really double check that real quick. Yes, today's the 21st. So this starts the 3 days, if you will, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So hopefully Sunday will be it. But, like I said, we'll see. I don't know how much more they've got to play out, so to speak, on the world stage. I know, and what's really funny is I'm actually kind of tracking the remaining loops. And through different ways, of course. I don't necessarily go off the news, and I can't even explain how I track the different loops that we're going through. The minor loop, okay, I keep talking about the two big earthquakes. There was like, we have the two black holes that are the majors that are connected as above, so below. And then we have that third minor one. I think the third minor one's already gone. I think all we're into is just the two that are remaining. And I think we concluded that one, I think Thursday, Wednesday, somewhere in there. I don't remember where I was tracking it at through different events. But it's unimportant. Because again, when all this goes, none of this is going to be remembered. Just like Trump said a couple months ago, right? That an entire civilization is going to disappear overnight. That's everything you see around you. All these people that want to preach that, people get left behind. Like I said, that happened in World War II. That's the stretch between the Carrington event and the end of World War II. Is what it is. Everybody has their own take on things. That's just mine. It's just going to be more of the same. We might have a couple more false flags along the way. I don't know what they would be. But no, we're not going to get run over by the Muslims. That's already happened. We're not going to have all these things. They've all already happened. They just play out symbolically through this life. Our entire life has been one big symbolic journey of something that once was, that was taken over by something else. And you see it. Look at the movie Trading Places, right? And what's funny about that is I mentioned this in a video a couple years ago, the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter sold the Panama Canal for $1. So there's your old guy, right? That, and then that has to do with hemispheres, right? Northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Not only is it north-south, it's east and west. That goes back to the machine, so to speak. And the old Hopi prophecy rock that I talk about all the time, okay? Because there's the moon we're going to have. We talked about that, right? The waxing gibbous. There's our 10-4. But when you go back into here, okay, something that I forgot to mention, because again, it's really hard for me to determine, what's really worth mentioning when none of this really matters. But, this is also symbolic of north, south, east, and west. And it shows up in a multitude of timelines. So, here's your little machine, the UFO. And this is the wheel. So it turns and it puts us into this timeline. It turns, it puts us into this timeline. It turns, it puts us into this timeline. This thing just spins around and dumps the timelines that we play out right up here in the process box. So I think, like I said, all we're waiting on is this sign right here. Since we've already passed, the 6th day, and that would make today the 8th day, right? The 21st. So today would be that great 8th day. And then we just have the 2 more days to get us through the 23rd, and we'll see what happens. All right, everybody. That's enough for today. I love you all. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. I know there's storms brewing. There's heat. There's all this stuff is going on, but that's what we get here, right? So, love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.